Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, Tarbox in Colorado, on his way to Colorado. He's his son, so he's not here, but he's here.
Ken Meyer?
Present.
John Shaw?
I'm here.
You want me to go answer for Bill? I will.
No. You're going to allow that? Okay, minutes of the April 22nd meeting were emailed. Any corrections or additions?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion's carried. Thank you.
I was just going to say absolutely.
Greg, you're up first, please. You're requesting permission to start the process.
Correct.
Could you turn that on, Greg? I think it's down at the bottom.
Down at the bottom, you
Down at
push
the bottom,
it in.
just push it in, hold it for a couple seconds, and
Should see a light on
a
it.
little red light should come on or something.
Speaking it.
Oh, testing.
It works.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's on. I could hear you.
Bring that here, Greg.
Tap it like this.
There's a red light on it.
Is it? Okay, it's on there. I'm sorry. Good.
Yeah, I'm just requesting now that Spencer has resigned from the police department, that we have another opening.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would like permission to open up applications again.
Are we going to have to start from scratch, or are we going to be able to revert back?
We're down to 2 or 3 people that's, the deadline was May of this year. So that's where we're at.
The deadline for going back to the old, okay, so you want to go back to the old finalists? Is that what you're saying?
No.
No, you
You
don't.
want to start the whole process over
All over
again? Yeah.
If you have the energy to do it.
Well, and I don't know how many were left. We interviewed how many?
3,
6?
but one of them turned 36, so he is no longer. We have one that's getting close to that, another year away.
One got hired down here, right?
2 got hired over the county.
Joel, was that his name? Joel,
Yeah.
from Bluffton. And
I don't remember.
Kukulhan and
Did they replace you already, Charlie? Not yet?
got his name back there.
It doesn't
That's
matter.
all right.
It doesn't matter. So you're asking permission to start the process and then go through the whole again.
Sometime this month I'll get everything.
I have no problem with that. I think
No, I don't
the
either.
sooner the better. I'd say.
But I mean, that's a lengthy process to start from the beginning, and rather than going back to what you have on file and pulling out the top, whatever's left and reviewing them.
No, I would rather not, because then now you're decreasing the qualifications of the people coming in, that even though we had an upper level that we were dealing with, those
Okay.
kind of defunct now, so I'm kind of scared to start over.
Yep.
I make a motion to allow Greg to start the process to fill the vacancy.
Second.
Do it. I don't know if you want to say anything, taking applications or what?
Not yet.
Not yet?
I'll post
Yeah.
something in the paper this month.
Yeah, if you would.
I'll deal with Aaron about maybe we can get something on the website.
Yeah, sure. And also let the radio station know. Yeah, I have an email address for Bob Adams if you want it. Okay. Sorry we're going to do it, but, hey.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Moving on.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. The sewer department has been doing smoke testing the last couple of years, different areas. They want to proceed with the next area, and they requested 2 quotes. They can only get 1, and it's very similar to what they've had in the past. It's the same company, Westler, so they brought that in front of us to approve. It's the amount of $19,750 for this round of smoke testing.
What area are they going to do?
Excuse me?
Where will the smoke
That's what Charlie just asked. I'm trying to find it. I don't see it in here. Schedule for which July 4 days, it doesn't say. Weather permitting. It really doesn't say what area they're doing.
Nate.
Nate?
Where are they doing the smoke testing?
Do you know what area they're doing?
How big of an area do we get for?
It's, the total length is about 48,000 linear feet. I think we're getting Stratton Park area. I should remember a couple of these different areas. We're probably going south and south central more this time than what we've done before.
Yeah, it says,
I should have included an attachment with that. We did that early April, and Paul Berlin had helped put together the graphic for us.
maybe it's on one of these attachments. Here it is. There's a little map here. Whoa. If I can figure out what this map says, I can't find out where we're at. Okay, this looks like it's the river, and this is the... It is from Jefferson Street south to... Man, this is a terrible map.
A little small.
I can't... Oh, there's the street. Can't read it.
Maybe got any landmarks.
What's that street say? Stevenson? Does that say Stevenson? Kikianga? Stevenson. Okay, so we're going... Grant Street's got to be there.
Yeah, this is Stevenson.
This has got to be Grant. From Jefferson Street, it looks like all the way to the old hospital, which is High Street and Homestead. And to the west, it's from the river, St. Mary's River. To the west, it's to... I'd say 11th. Eleventh Street.
There's Patterson here. That must be 11th.
I think it is because there's West Street,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Patterson. Yeah, so 11th Street. So it's all the way from the river to 11th Street, and from Jefferson Street to the south city limit.
So it's a pretty big area.
Pretty good area. Yeah.
And it was, how much, 19,000?
$19,750. Very comparable to what they did the last
I
time.
get you.
So, I'll make a motion to approve that request.
Gotta be done. Second.
Yeah. Okay, in order to do the budgets for the, for 2016, we need to know if we are going to do any pay raises for the employees, and if so, approximately how much, so the department heads can do the budget. I did read somewhere where the county was figuring a 2%.
They went to 1.5.
They went to 1.5%?
Printed off the history that you, and I
Here,
put
I
it down,
got
never looked at it.
I have that. This is the history that we've had in the past. In 2009, for 2010, there was no increase. 2010 for 2011, no increase. 2011 for 2012 was a $1,000 flat amount. For 2012 for 2013, 2%, and then the police officers had a plus 2,500. 2013 for 2014 year, 2%, and last year it was $800 for this year. Last year we did an $800 increase, so
Flat.
flat. And plus, last year there was a kind of an odd year, once every 11 years, that you have
Right.
27 pays instead of 26, so.
So if you do want to do raises, you'll base it off of 26 pays, not the 27
Right.
pays.
We've been, over the last 10 years, we've been as high as 4% and as low as none. So, I would have no problem with, to make up for, still making up for the 2008 and 2009, zero. I would have no problem with a 2%. That's how I... Do we know how much 1% pay increase is,
I didn't
dollar-wise? Didn't figure it out?
calculate anything, no.
Any comments?
Is that leaving the bases like they are now, or
Yeah.
switching? Okay, great. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I do too.
Where are we financially?
We have financial thoughts.
I think I sent you a fund report with our cash balance.
If you don't have it, I have it. I don't know if it tells you a whole lot if you don't know how to read it. It really doesn't tell you a whole lot. I'll let Phyllis.
It seemed to me that we're healthier than we've been in previous
Yeah,
years.
our general fund's at 1.8 million after the first quarter. And street fund has 210,000, and Park and Rec has a little less than 100,000 cash balance.
Now, on that,
And rainy day fund has 127,000. I don't know what project fund is. I don't know what that is. Do you know?
That's our PD and
Oh, that's
City
the...
Hall.
Oh, okay.
the bond.
that report, Phyllis, I don't think it does show
What's
same time period last year.
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
Oh,
is
I
kind of
can do
compare
that for you.
the two.
Yeah.
If you're needing to.
Do you convert that to a PDF from an Excel spreadsheet or anything by any chance?
I can send, you mean, that's how I emailed it to you.
With what?
It was on a PDF, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, was it originally like on some kind of a Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah,
No?
that's our software program,
Okay.
yeah.
I think it would be nice if it was on a Excel
Yeah, I think you
spreadsheet.
should really, could you send out one that
Previous
kind of
years.
shows it year
Same
before?
time period last
Yeah,
year, this
same
year.
time, where you can do a comparison. Yeah, that tells you if it went up or down.
One employee, and he said it half jokingly, said, well, you guys ought to have all kinds of money. You haven't replaced the several that, named Bree and some that have retired that haven't been replaced. In other words, they're taking up the slack.
And it was an employee.
Who's been here a long time. Yeah, not afraid to just say what he thinks anymore.
What are you basing that off of, 26 days, go back to the 27 days we did this year, the raise?
Yeah, I guess the answer to him is, you know,
It's
things can be
26.
run
I
just
think
as
they,
smooth.
we base it on 26 days.
At the base salary is what they are right
No.
now.
And
What do you do?
You know, because
Fish, drink?
we're talking about your things that are like a base and a 27 days.
Well, how
That's
do
your,
you...
What I'm saying is they're gonna get 2% on top of what they're getting paid right now.
which is 27 days, not 26.
No,
But, well,
not
we
the
pay,
pay.
we really don't
I'm
pay
talking about the
annually.
dollar amount at the end, the gross.
We pay bi-weekly.
We're getting 2% on the gross.
So you want, right, that's what you,
That's what I'm,
that's what you're talking
is that what you were talking about, John? 2% on the gross at the end of the year. The paydays would go back to 26,
That's
Chuck.
right, but they're still only
It is
making
more than-
26, not 27.
okay,
So they're annual.
just to be clear on that, when you say on the gross, so you're talking about what your W-2 says.
Right.
2% on the W-2.
But their bi-weekly will go up.
The air conditioner's not working.
Right, and that's what you're asking.
Right, their wages remain the same
Right.
with the 2% raise.
Right,
But go back to 26 days.
I'm
right,
fine.
yeah.
Two, not three.
So if you wanted to see what your annual was, it's
But
gonna,
they're,
it's
but
not,
We've asked them to cut and hold and pinch and
the wages
they
stay
have.
the
Right.
same.
Okay, let's look at the double
No.
They're not gonna cut that off, go back.
Please.
Minus that.
No.
Okay.
What other reason aside from it's a good thing to do, and they work hard, is driving this?
What reason would you look for? They do good work, cost of living's going up.
Okay, how much, what's the data, what's the cost of living that's gone up?
Well, we know for a fact the utility bills are going up, they live in the city, don't we? Okay?
To answer that question, I don't know. I think there's a federal index that you can go to and find that out, what cost of living is.
But the only thing that's
I'm
went
not sure
down
what.
for me in my life, and
venture
I'm
to
sure
say
you'll
it's
agree, is
at
gas.
least 2%.
My groceries are sky high, and yours are probably really sky high.
Well, I'm just bringing that out there because the other thing, I mean, I think it's important to look at how our funds stack up against last year, but that's primarily a factor of not spending, isn't it? Is our revenue gone up, I guess?
You're good, valid question.
Yeah.
Do we make them pinch so we can pass on more to them? Or do we pass on more because we have more revenue to pass on? Or thought?
Yeah. I
Do you
think,
want me to get you some data for like what our revenues were at this time compared
That
to
would
what
be
they are
helpful. I
today?
mean,
Okay.
'cause there's stuff not coming through property
it's like this here in front, if you could just have
We don't.
current balance.
Taxes collected.
Yeah, well, it'll show. So
Not
we
coming
read
through in any
today,
distributions
just
from
versus
inheritance
today,
tax,
and
that's
then
repealed.
I'll run it
Yeah,
for
It's not
last
coming
year.
through any
right.
inventory tax,
Really,
that's been repealed.
That's really all you need for two.
It's not coming through property tax, that's been
Just
capped.
Last year's?
The only new revenue that you're gonna have come 2016 is probably the 0.25% increase in COAT as a result of, that applies to public safety.
Which we can't use for.
You can't use that
Directly.
for wage increases, but indirectly, it may free up general funds that you could use.
I know, and I know that's what Chris is looking at,
Right.
what, in theory, we could pay out of one pocket and replenish with the other, but I'm just saying, where's the increase coming from? Because it's not any of those sources.
I think if Phyllis could give us last year compared to this year, I think that'd be a great. And then also, Phyllis, because some of these funds, like rainy day fund, there's probably some money allocated to come out of there,
So
so.
say federal government's doing one,
Is that right?
if that's what was proposed.
See, you got $796,000, but there's a lot of money that's committed out of that fund, so it's kind of misleading
Well, I
when you
just
say
kind
that.
of was doing, just to show the general fund, street and park and rec, because those are the ones that have the payroll taken out of.
Oh, I see.
Well,
The
that's
other funds really don't have the payroll taken out of.
But
Yeah.
Well,
But I would like to see anything over $100,000
what goes in
that,
the most?
that you give us maybe a list for each fund of what's committed out of it. Like feed it, for example, I know that we don't have $796,000.
Higher
No,
than CPS.
no,
We
right.
have commitments for that. Riverboat Fund, 311, I'm not
Right,
sure.
that's got our bond payment taken out of there.
Okay.
Coming up.
That'll be-
Riverboat.
That's one month.
One of the payments comes out of Riverboat, the other one out of rainy day.
Okay, that's good to know. So when you say we have that much money coming in,
Depends on.
now, when you say this is our current balance, so that's before our June distribution, and then we'll have another distribution in December, correct?
On the Southwest District, we use a CPI-U.
What's that, project fund?
That is
That's
the
right,
general
like last year, it was
That's their
1.8%.
project. Well, it's really the funds from our bond. Yeah.
So
we have-
are you wanting,
It's spending now, well, we gotta pay.
Okay.
when do we
Well, Phyllis will give us some more information on that, and we can maybe make that decision here at the next meeting.
Increases at all.
Okay?
That's what I was-
And maybe we can get a kind of a cost of living
Making that
idea.
Kind of add something to make up partly for that.
That's the free.
And I think what Cam's saying, okay, is do we have new
So,
revenue?
if that's okay, Phyllis will give us a comparison for last year, and then commitments out of what some of these funds are
That would
committed for,
allow you to use
and,
that new money towards
There was one more thing you said.
line items in your
Just
general
cut out
budget.
the
that
revenues
are funded
and
through
disbursements
property
for
tax
this
revenues or
time,
general
and
revenues
then
that you could then
show
allocate
the balances to it. And then
public safety,
$2,000
cover that.
comparable
Free
to
up.
2014
That's
local,
I said
15.
code increase, your local
And then
income tax.
commitments to some of these funds.
So,
I thought there was
you know, when
one
they
more
talked
thing.
about the
Yeah.
increase for low,
Oh,
it had
um,
two components. One
cost
was
of
property
living.
tax.
Cost of living, yeah, we'll try to do something on that.
Public safety, each with a 1/4%, and you couldn't get public safety increase without the other.
I can research the cost of living.
And the reason.
Okay,
the county
if you would.
supported the public
You gotta
safety
throw us some
officer
sheets, send it out to everybody.
They could fund the bond issue.
What's he gonna research?
He's gonna look at cost of living information.
I just Googled it, it said 1%.
Good.
Between September of this year and August next year, at least on that particular.
A couple things here. The hospital annexation. We are meeting with the hospital, Tim and I, Dan, Rickard, Philip. I'll meet with the hospital next week to kind of go over the revised numbers. I don't know if you, everybody received them from Christie, what that revised number was. So, if you have any comments, at the next meeting is when we're going to really discuss that, so,
Do they have those numbers, the hospital?
yes, I sent them to the, yes, sent to Dane Wheeler.
Yeah, you got it, George, what's on here?
I mean, just to see where we're coming from.
Yeah, yeah,
Christie sent those out?
yeah. Here, I got an extra copy if you want.
A week or more
I
ago.
had two of them. So it was, what was that amount?
So this shows that, it's the one I got, at the end of 5 years, we're gonna lose $200,000 by annexing.
The initial, there was an addendum done, it
That-
shows that
that's-
that's decreased. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The new one is 200, right?
Yeah.
That's correct, the other one was 372.
But there's a couple of ways to look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, and 2 weeks ago tonight, I was dead set against annexing, thinking that, okay, we're losing this money. But in fairness to the hospital, I mean, going forward, can't look back, going forward, if we annex them, they're going to pay for what they use. So we're not really losing anything. We're losing compared on what we would be if they were an out-of-town user. That's like saying, okay, we don't want to annex the jail because we can make money on them, and we don't want to annex anyone going forward because we can make money on them because they're an out-of-town resident.
No, but
With
they
city
bring-
utilities?
You know, the jail brings us nothing again, but most places brings us housing, industry, they bring a tax base.
It should, in my opinion, that should have been annexed from the
Does-
get-go. I have no idea why they weren't.
It'd be interesting to know why they didn't, but we'll never know that.
We'll never know because Mayor Ish is no longer here and
And neither is...
Marvin is no longer.
10 years from now, is there going to be more building? I would think the hospital's going to continue to expand.
They are, but they're all...
Continue to add.
It's all non-tax.
They're all nonprofit, so we don't need anything off it. I would,
And what if there's other medical offices that build in that area that aren't attached to the hospital?
If they're not owned by the hospital,
Say
they're taxable.
ENT, say
And what if someday...
OBGYNs, all these different,
But if that's saying now,
That's
we
all
lose
part of the hospital.
$500 million while we're doing the what else.
we're not losing it, because they're paying for it.
If it's a
I know what
for-profit,
you're saying, this is theory,
entity,
but I just have a hard time with that.
Lutherans,
What they're
Parkview's
paying
not-
now, they're paying.
Lutheran is.
And if we bring them in, and they only have to pay 2/3 of that, well, yeah, we didn't really lose that revenue, but yet we really did lose it.
We lost the revenue, but we're not digging into our pocket. What we're digging into our pocket for is street police, which is $8,000 a year.
And I think that's way off.
I think it's too little.
Yep.
And see, I think this begs another question, because this is a giant organization. And I wonder, do other communities can they charge a flat assessment fee for services? All our other residents pay service fees
Through taxes.
through taxes, right? Through property tax.
They don't.
Well, how else do we pay for the services we provide to everybody else in our community? How do we pay for those?
Through taxes, police and fire pay.
Right, they pay the city
Right,
tax.
that's what
everybody's paying a tax.
Right.
So we're providing services we're potentially going to provide at a minimum $8,000 of services because
For free.
For free. Because the water and sewer they're paying for. That's not a service that they're going to pay for,
Right.
but everything else they're getting for free. So can we do an assessment on not-for-profit saying you pay for the services?
I'm not aware that if any, I mean, we can check with other communities to see if that's ever been done, but I'm not sure that we have the legal authority to do it, is what I'll look, I'll find
I mean, all
out.
we're asking them to do is pay for what they're getting.
Are we plowing their streets and
No.
stuff in the winter?
No, we've already talked to them,
Upkeep on them.
no, we talked to them, that's not even factored into this.
Okay.
And I told John, they've represented previously that they understand
They know they're
that
getting a sweet deal.
They don't, their streets don't meet our standards, so we're not going to accept them. So they understand that's their responsibility, but I do want something in writing that can be recorded to that effect, so that 20, 40 years from now, it's clear that that was the understanding.
I know this is a very minimal thing, but the $8,000 for street lights,
Actually, I checked on that, it's more like 10.
well, can't they pay that?
Well, that's maybe we could, see if they would.
And I don't think anyone's opposed to annexing the hospital.
They just pay what we pay.
We're just trying to be good stewards.
To our own citizens. I agree with that.
You know,
For
I think
our
I would,
streetlights, we
and it goes
own
right back to the question.
and we
Why
have an
would-
electrician
yeah, right.
to install those.
Did,
And if it's
on the edge of our town, why
we
would
fix
they
it.
run in?
If not,
They weren't, so we can't change that. So that's a new point to me, I don't
It would
care.
be interesting.
We take care of their...
Shouldn't that be in their minutes from
they don't have it
meetings
because they're
years
in the
ago?
county.
Could be.
So we got to put street...
Yeah, I don't,
I guess that during your conversation,
Adam
I
was
think it
the
would be
attorney
helpful.
then too, wasn't he?
Adam represented the hospital, Mark
What
represented the
services are we
county,
going to be providing
Dwayne represented the city.
under our current
They ought to be able to tell us why.
I have no idea what the deal was.
police and street? And whatever our electric bill is for those street lights. And that's essentially stuff that we're just,
We'll have
Well, and maybe they pay for street lighting.
and that's what I'm
Yeah.
curious. I mean, if it still comes out, they're still going to come out ahead. We're just not falling behind.
Look, and that's another thing, you know, snow plowing, for example, comes through the street department. They're not getting that service.
Right.
So, there's, you know, some of it they're not getting.
Our trucks, right, they're not getting track service.
Yeah.
But like Ken said, make sure it's written up well so that
Yeah.
20 years from now, somebody will say, well, yeah,
Why'd they
we
do
took
that?
that in.
Well, the other thing that I would point out to you, and you need to keep this in mind, I understand what you're saying about the loss and the cost to the city and that there's no offsetting new revenue that's going to come in. But the hospital, just for example, the Stellar project last year, the hospital was a major contributor, 100,000. You know, so it's not like they're ignoring the city or not being a good citizen in that
They've been
respect.
a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think you got to try to find a balance here so that you don't want to burn a bridge where you have a good working relationship. And maybe there are ways that this can be reduced in a way that you're more comfortable with and the hospital can live with as well.
I just think when we look at police, just because that's where I was at, you know, every time something happens at the hospital, the city's going to be called. The report is always the county. Every time there's a theft or big theft or something at
Absolutely.
Woodcrest.
And if they have an unruly patient, and if they have to have somebody set with that patient.
You know,
Well-
the county always got called there, the city all still responded. Now, but is the county going to do the same thing in kind, saying no? That's the city's problem. We're not sending any more officers there.
I don't think so. I think if there's an emergency at the hospital, a police officer's going to respond right away. No matter who's the closest, that's who's going to go. I still think the county will respond to that.
Greg's got a comment.
Greg? the way I have to look at those, John, it's not like writing a traffic ticket. It's like anything that's usually going to go on at a new facility or another facility that holds people, you're dealing with reports. And when you're doing that, you're talking about time. And most of the reports that would happen at facilities like this would be like thefts or assaults or domestic situations or whatever it is. But those times, anything other than a traffic ticket takes a lot of time versus doing tickets. So
What kind of calls do you get from the hospital?
we don't. We respond, but say like Woodcrest or the apartments or whatever, you know,
Okay.
theft from a room or things that have to be investigated.
So that's something we could ask them.
So Christie's report again, second time, still not accurate.
Well, it is, because
I think that came from, didn't you?
the information she got from Greg.
Greg's the one that provided.
Greg gave her that information.
I said the mental commitments. You guys are going to be tied up the whole
Yeah.
time now.
Yeah, unbelievable time.
Mental commitments, you're just...
Then why didn't she, her report that she gave us, why didn't it show more of a cost to the city?
I don't know.
Well, I think she,
First of all, it's hard to estimate.
I think one thing she could do is she could go over to the county and say, how many calls, they can do it. Did you send somebody to the hospital? How many times you send somebody to Woodcrest? They can get all that information.
Because they're not...
Right, and that can change.
sure, we can get that, because she's got a cost per call. With the information Greg gave her, it costs $122 per call, no matter where this is in the city.
You know, it's like Bill said, you get a commitment, a mental commitment, then you might be talking 2 hours, you might be talking 4 hours.
But it's
8
not-
hours.
But it's not just the time, then you're losing the personnel too, because that may take them out of the city. That may be a transport. That's one of
Or it might
those-
take 2 of them out there because they're unruly. You know, you don't know.
I think it'd be good to check with Shane.
I just think the $8,000 is too low.
I agree.
Yeah, Shane's give you a pretty good idea, because,
That's
I
why I
mean,
just
it puts a
wrote,
real burden on them.
to hospital Woodcrest.
I
Make sure it's-
I still think 2 points. There's a lot of potential for growth in that area other than just Adams Memorial Hospital.
Where does it grow?
Who's going to grow?
You can't grow on the east side of the road. We know that.
River.
No,
Right, you build it
you
down there.
can, Adam North,
Out to 33.
200,
Just that little corner
from
there,
Mercer Avenue all the way
to the bypass.
to the bypass.
Yeah, you
And-
got,
and
you got
from-
them houses sitting back in there, fences.
200 to 100, behind the Knights of Columbus, all of that.
Yeah, but isn't that all privately owned?
Yeah.
I mean, those properties go clear back to the old railroad.
But if
But-
ENT out of Fort Wayne said, we want to pay you a lot of money for a portion of ground, I think someone might sell it.
Well, you might get them in bid more.
Well, it
Another
gives
thing-
you a place for growth. Right now, we're landlocked. We can't go anywhere.
But remember, with the old hospitals, that land, is that not earmarked for future medical development? That's why they...
It's owned by the hospital.
For that purpose.
Another thing that we're not even considering here is you see a lot of the local hospitals getting bought by bigger hospitals. And, yeah, like I asked him, Parkview is a not-for-profit. Lutheran is for profit. It could at some point. It might be 10, might be 20 years, may never happen, but it may happen, get bought by a for-profit company.
That's true.
When the new hospital was built back in 2005, that was the consideration. Okay, hey, we're going to raise the seated cash, we're going to double it, we're going to take that raise of seated to help pay for it. Operational, that'll help pay for it, the new hospital. If it ever comes back that the county has to take property taxes to make payments, we're selling. And then we're really in a great spot, I think, because we got Parkview and Lutheran. As long as those two are there, we got great. I mean, we
Well, from a
can't lose.
city's perspective, we'd rather see Lutheran.
Yeah, I understand. But that was the approach they took back in 2005.
Okay, 2005, when all the cities paying seated, okay, towards the bonds. Then they renewed those bonds. Okay, when the bonds are up originally, that would have been original. Are we done paying seated, or did we get extended out on
No,
the new bond?
no, I checked on that, and what they're doing is they kept their bond debt service at the same level, so they're just gonna pay it off quicker. So now, once they get it paid off, you have to go back and look at what the agreement says that was signed by
All you,
all the different bodies that sat at that table when this was decided. You had,
I think they were supposed to, that was 2003 is when the bonds were sold. And it was a 30-year bond, so in 2033, the bonds were supposed to be paid off. And then that seeded revenue, 2034, goes back to the cities and the counties and whoever else shares in that seeded.
depends on whether that's what the agreement
I
says.
think it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would have been a,
Essentially what they did, it was reissued, in basically, I think it was 2013, they basically refinanced for 10 years, 20 years. It's going to be paid off, it's a 30-year note, but they're going to pay it off in 20.
So at the end of that 20, do we start getting our money back?
I don't, that's why I say you have to look at the
I
agreement.
think we do, but that's a good question to ask them.
Yeah. Because
when are you
they
meeting with them, John?
Wednesday?
May 12th.
Tuesday, I think it
And
is.
I'm going to ask you this, John. We've asked them for years, who owns the hospital?
It's not the county. So it's owned by the Hospital Association.
Who's the hospital
It's
association?
a separate legal entity. They had to set it up that way.
And I do want to,
Under the hospital law.
I do want to reveal that I happen to be on the hospital authority.
Yeah, or maybe it's called the authority now. It used to be called the association, but it's, under the old statute, when the hospital was first created, that's how it was.
I wish I was
Initially,
smart
it was a
enough to do
county
something like
facility,
that.
then the laws changed and it got transferred over. Because I remember going through this even when Harry Scott was attorney for the hospital. And because there was a big debate within the county whether the county owned it or not. So it's kind of like the solid waste district. Some county people think that that's a county-owned facility. It's a separate legal entity.
But the bonds are guaranteed by property taxes.
The bonds are guaranteed by property tax revenue, but the debt service currently is being made through the pledge of seeded revenues and operating revenues generated by the hospital in lieu of reliance upon property tax revenues. It's no different than what you're doing on this building, okay? It's a general obligation bond that's supported through property tax, but instead of relying upon property tax to pay, you agreed that you were going to use other resources so you didn't have to increase property tax. Okay? So it's the same principle.
Well, I appreciate that you're wanting to talk to them, I can say what's in it for us. Because right now, at even the low number, we're losing 8 a year,
We're losing what?
8,000 a year.
Minimum.
Keep track of all these complicated things, Mr. Baker. Couldn't you guys just make things easier for us?
I wish we could. I don't make these
I
rules.
don't know how many more than I did when you started.
I'm not trying to confuse you, I'm trying to explain, and it's not easy.
Yeah, right?
I wish it were a lot simpler.
Well, after we meet, I'm going to give you a summary of what was discussed, and you guys can't make a decision, of course, until you're in a meeting, but... I just want to bring it up.
The thing you stress to them is that we would love to annex them, but it is in a roundabout way costing us. We want to be partners with them. And we realize what they have done for us, like...
Oh, absolutely. Awesome.
But just like any other...
Yeah, but, yeah. They're the second largest employer in Adams County. Right here in Decatur. Okay, hey, we don't need you anymore. Get
All
out of
those
here.
employees
Yeah.
pay taxes.
Yeah.
And when we have things like stellar communities,
They're
they
here.
ponied up, pledged $100,000.
I've been fortunate to go to some of their community organizational meetings they have out there. Amazing, the service they give people for no matter what it is. I was out there for Boy Scouts here a couple weeks ago. They provided a nice little breakfast, free of charge. You know, they do all kinds of things like that for our community. I'm sure they gave money to the Boy Scouts. I don't know what it was, but you know, the things like that, what they give for us. I don't know. Somebody told me they had an MRI done in Fort Wayne versus MRI here, and I'm not trying to get into, but it was cheaper here than it was to go to Fort Wayne. I don't know. I've heard the opposite in that too. So yeah, I just want to let you know that we are going to meet with them. We'll report back to you so you're prepared for discussion at the next meeting, because I think at the next meeting we have.
But we will definitely communicate that there's serious reservations about. There's concern or reservations about the impact of the city.
Because our rates, and everybody in agreement, these rates are going to continue to go up over the years.
Sure, they're not going down.
And they're affecting a lot of people in Decatur, a lot of people. None of us are on just Social Security. And then what about those people? I mean, those increases in their water bills and utility bills is well felt, you know, and they're part of our community too. But
most of those increases come from mandates from Indianapolis. And you know,
I agree,
and that's
John.
who we got to tell.
the state needs
They're
to
being
be
mandated by the
held.
federal government.
I agree.
But
I am.
we are the most tangible, so we're who's being held accountable. No matter how much you tell them the state's making us do it, we're the ones that sign the papers, and that's whose names they see. And they don't care about anything but the bottom line every month.
Why am I paying $7 more than I was a year ago?
Right. And for everyone sitting here, hoopty-doopty. But for a lot of people, that is serious.
Okay, hey, we'll report back to you after we have that meeting. Appreciate it. Thank you. Is Melissa here? She's not here yet. Okay. Stellar funding, you know, and I just bring this up because Tim and I and Phyllis were talking about it today, and I want to make sure we understand what we were doing. Last year, I think we had a lump sum. Kim, you were heavily involved in that, so. But last year, when we were involved with Stellar, I think we communicated that we wanted to use part of the cash balance right off the top, and if I remember right, it was $750,000 of our cash balance, which Phyllis has done a great job getting it up over the last 10 years from $200,000 roughly to 1.6 million or whatever that was, whatever that number was. So I'm not sure. I think we need to give Phyllis some direction on what we want to do for this year, because I don't know if we're going after as much money. We're still asking for $750,000 up front, and then after that, I think we were going to rely on the city for 4 years at $300,000 to help fund these Stellar projects.
If you recall, last year you had actually adopted a resolution where you committed $750,000, and then you were going to pledge an additional 300-some thousand for
A
4
year
years.
for 4 years.
So
4 times
obviously
3.
we didn't commit the $750,000. We didn't pay that. We haven't paid the $315 or whatever it is for this year. So are you going to do something like that again? Are you going to fund what you've already approved? Or are you going to rescind that and adopt a new resolution that goes forward? Because the size of the Stellar request is going to be less than what we had last year. You know, do you need to still do $750,000, or do you do a smaller figure?
What's it look like to the committee that's looking at this if we leave it the way it is compared to lowering it?
I think we need to take it from a bigger
And it's not just tied to Stellar alone. It's the capital campaign that's going to cover more projects, regardless of whether we get Stellar status or not.
If we're seriously and we're committed to this outside of Stellar, we need to distance ourselves from funding Stellar projects. We have capital campaign projects.
Right.
And there's, you know, the capital campaign committee has been meeting and getting ready to launch a major
Exactly.
campaign, that what we've identified and try to phase all these projects. And in phase one alone, there's $6.5 million worth of projects. Okay? And basically 50% of that is through the city. Now, where's that come from? It's grants, right? But there's capital outlay as well. And then we're trying to raise for phase one projects $3.5 million. 2.5 for pass-through and another 1 for the endowment. So that's what we're asking, right? So really, I mean, to make all this work, the city is going to need to commit to, and it basically comes out to $500,000 a year, starting in 2016, moving forward, is what, I guess I would say, I think we need to scrap
The old one?
the old one,
The one from last year?
see the fresh perspective balance sheet, and look at
That would be my advice.
from moving there. But I guess that begs the question, are there things that, maybe this is where you're going, I don't know, are there things that we could or should do in 2015 with money that we had committed but haven't spent for 2015? Because the resolution was for
Yeah,
750 up front and 300 this year.
correct.
12.
Which we have not committed, or we haven't dedicated or set aside at this point.
And I don't think we touched the 750.
We did not.
No.
But I mean, now I would say we hold that.
Last year it was 2 million, I think was our target, because that's how the numbers come out, 750 plus 312 times 4 is, you know, you come up to $2 million roughly. I think this year it's a little bit less, if I remember.
Christie said around 1.8 million.
1.8 million.
But I think that was strictly on Stellar.
Strictly so. There's other things that are going on.
Right.
Well, that doesn't include complimentary. That
Right.
doesn't include the,
Nature Preserve or
And that was
other
just the
projects.
city's
That was just,
portion,
yeah.
the 1.8.
Right. But I think the reason the resolution was adopted last year was there had to be a showing of a commitment by the city
Air's not working.
of its funds for the Stellar application. That's why it was kind of tied to Stellar. And we may have to do something somewhat the same this year, although we can word it a little more broadly to show that it's related to a larger capital campaign that's not necessarily tied strictly to Stellar. But
I apologize, I don't know why I didn't think about this until now. We've been so focused on trying to figure things out. I mean, that's kind of that concept needs to be shared with you guys so you can see.
Yeah. Well, and Christie's doing a financial...
Capital improvement plan.
Yeah,
For the
and
next 5
she's-
years.
Yeah, so we should have that back in a week or two
But
here,
she's
so.
seen what, I mean, Ann's putting it smooth right now.
yeah.
Christie's seen all that too. It jives with all the numbers that she had put up together, or worked together.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I just want to bring it to your attention, fellas and I were kind of talking, and Tim came in, and we're just trying to get a grasp on where we were going. So maybe at the next meeting, we can have something a little bit more concrete.
I'm thinking that obviously we're too late here. I don't know why I didn't think about this. I mean, they're planning on pulling these people together to start to ask.
Oh.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's something you need to see tonight before they do that. I can print it out and I can get Melissa to print copies out so you can see it, just so you know what.
Okay.
Well, we need to know what to
Yeah,
expect,
that's
so
fine.
we can
Hey,
plan.
Jeremy,
Yeah.
before you sit down, would you ask Melissa to come in? She's over in her office. Thank you.
Let me go and grab it.
Come on in.
Somebody said there's pizza in here.
Somebody lied to you. I think it's 2 doors down that way.
No, that's it.
Hi, John.
You might want to ditch your jacket, the air's not working.
Yeah, the air's not working tonight.
for tomorrow.
Melissa? Cam's gonna ask you to pull something up on your computer and print it out here.
Okay.
Is there something else you need to do that?
Oh, yeah, while you're here, we'll get your benches out of the way. Melissa here's been working with Main Street, Decatur Main Street, and they are in charge of the park across the street. And so they're getting some numbers around to put benches in. They determined that benches are needed. I think we all kind of know that they're needed. And Melissa's got some numbers. Basically, they got a few dollars that they could put towards it, and she's asking for some money for us to maybe come forward.
Decatur Main Street, the design committee there has determined that 4 benches are necessary over at Pocket Park. And to keep a similar look going downtown, the design committee has said to use similar benches to the black ones that are currently at Storybook Park.
Good.
I have quoted those, same bench, same company, and the price per bench is $902.
Okay, so we need 4, right?
The design committee has proposed for 4, and there is a shipping cost which is about $500. They come from Canada, so I asked if it's something we could pick up, and that's not the case at all. The ship time is 3 to 4 weeks. So we're butting up against the Sculpture Tour and ARG are at downtown, and we would certainly like to have those in place, if at all possible, for when we have all of our guests.
902 times 5, and then plus 500 on top of that, right?
4.
900 times 4.
Okay, so 36,
And then
4,100.
That's
shipping is
4,000.
approximately $500.
And they have any money to put forth on this venture?
Main Street would like to request 4, and knowing that Main Street's in charge of the Pocket Park as well as for the capital campaign, some amenities for Pocket Park are included in the capital campaign, but we are not quite there yet. So,
So you have some money,
Not
or
for
you're
benches.
asking for the...
Not for benches.
Not for benches.
Okay.
I mean, part of this, but I'm going to have her print off for you, and we had included, like, final cost and that thing in the streetscapes of the
Okay.
capital campaign. But, I mean, that kickoff hasn't even started, so there's no money available to buy those things in time for ARG. Is that right?
Are you asking for
I
us?
think if we ordered today or this week, we might be able to work it out that they could get here in time. But again, the capital campaign doesn't currently have, we haven't kicked off yet to have the
Yeah,
funding
right.
to help out with that
My
expense.
question would be, are you asking for a loan, or are you asking to pay
No.
them
I
outright?
think they're just asking for us to pay for them outright.
Well, we asked them to come up with an idea to finish out the park.
Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Done.
CCD.
Those benches, I've seen them, but it escapes me. I mean, I know they're black. Do they have they have wood on them also, or is it all metal? All metal.
It didn't make my folder. If you hold on
How
just a
much is
moment.
the total bench? How much would it be? 900?
So there's nothing on the bench that could rot or...
What's your question? How much money?
Yeah, I thought they had some money, but evidently they don't. We gave them some money. Oh, I shouldn't say
Well, it
gave.
should be on here. How much it
Main
had.
Street? Main Street. You got $7,900.
Rotary got a district grant to pay for 2 of
I
them.
can pay it.
Well, if they paid half,
Wow.
Library.
you know, about a partnership.
We gave them money.
We do have, in Riverville, capital improvement, 50,000.
Well, they got,
5 came from us. Some of it came from,
well, they had a membership drive, I know, because,
well, and some of it came from...
The rainy day.
Volfest.
Try to have 18.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Good.
I don't know if Fall Fest gave that or not, because I think they were looking at a Christmas
Walk away out of my office.
We could do a rainy day.
rainy day.
That's where we've been taking.
All right, well, we can't really do the funding at the Board of Works anyhow, we gotta go to the city council, but,
Okay, those are nice.
I don't think they're very comfortable, but
Cast
I'm not
aluminum.
planning on sitting on them very.
Cast aluminum, so they're not going to rust.
I think that's the idea.
But now, the stainless steel security hardware.
They look nice, but they don't
Will be 10.
So you're asking if the city would pay for these benches, basically, $4,100. I think Main Street would be able to maybe pay half of that. I know you can't speak for them, I put you on the spot, yeah.
I could certainly take it back to Main Street. I think that we would be very thankful for that. We also received a quote today on flowers for the circles, and that money will also come out of Main Street fund. We'll be paying for that soon also.
You have $7,981.
So, but in doing this, I'd also like to spin it to the public, that these are the kind of things we want to do. And if you would like to give money to Decatur Main Street, because there's still groups that want, Mrs. Lickley still hits me up every time she sees me on wanting to give money for that park in her family's name.
There you go. There's $4,100 she can give to, right, tomorrow.
How about, I mean, if I understand what you're saying, we pay for two, they pay for two out of their 7,900. Are you asking the question, I mean, is that...
I guess I'm putting you on the spot, Melissa, a little bit, but...
She said she'd take it back.
I could take it back to Main Street.
When are you meeting them again?
But you need to get them ordered.
I can make enough phone calls to
Make that
Get them
happen.
approved.
make it happen tomorrow. However, if you have an interested
Yeah,
community person, I would be happy to contact.
good.
I tell you,
Tonight.
if you, when are you gonna name that park?
Yeah, what's that?
If that's called Hold House Park, I bet you can get
She doesn't want it called She
4,100.
doesn't want it called Whole House Park.
We have 237 submissions for Pocket Park, and the Main Street group will be making a decision this month.
That's good. What does she want it called?
Just not their family name.
Really?
She's
That surprises me.
unique.
That leaves Schultz Park back.
No, it doesn't.
What's her husband's name?
Ken.
Ken and me.
Okay, so I'm sorry, well, we can't make a decision now, but...
Myself, that's Main Street, we asked them to go out and do a job, they've done it. I would
ordered.
propose that you
Figure out how to
just
pay for it between now and the
$4,100
next
pay for it.
And do you want, okay, let me ask you this. If I understood Melissa correctly, she really needs to get the order placed
Pretty soon.
rather quickly in order to assure that those park benches are going to be here for the unveiling of the sculptures and the
ARG rally.
rally. So what happens if Main Street says, we've already committed these funds to other expenses?
Is that the issue?
I don't know, I'm just saying, so does Melissa go ahead and make the order for 4, or does she only do 2 because that's all we're funding?
Okay, let me throw something else out there that says that these are already accounted for in our capital campaign. So if the capital campaign is successful, which it will be, we will be reimbursed.
Okay,
I mean, in
that's
theory,
fine. Yeah,
Like,
right,
we can use it someplace else.
right. I would fund all 4 of them, so you can get going on it.
And I will
Or home.
contact, Matt's contact, certainly, to see what the involvement would be there.
Well, I think we're gonna make a decision one way or the other at the city council meeting, right after this meeting, so. We're gonna make the decision here tonight.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You can always make the meeting,
Here's your number, Melissa.
in lieu of a donor, we will do this.
Right.
A lot of positive comments on that, what we've done there so far. Let's go cheapen it now.
I believe
Okay.
she emailed me a name suggestion, and
Dollar
I
funding
emailed
closed
back
up.
because she gave me some history on the building, along with her submission. Like, don't-
An issue has come up here in the city concerning some alleys that have been closed for the past 15 years. Nobody knows why they were closed, but there's 3 alleys that were closed. One's over here between 3rd Street and 4th Street, just to the north of Napa.
The other one is down
Thank you.
between 4th Street and 3rd Street, gosh, where it was. You know where Larry Macklin lives? Across the street from Larry Macklin. That house. The other one is across just to the west of 5th Street, between, let's see if I get my streets here, Madison and Jefferson is closed. Why they're closed, I don't know. Nobody seems to know why they were closed. We went back to the records. There's no,
So Jeremy's going to open them?
well, that's where I'm going to ask you. That's where we're asking, I guess. Do we want to open them alleys up? Why are they closed?
There's been some question, it seems like the last couple of years we get more people calling, hey, this one's closed, can I close mine? The response we've been giving them is no, because of the amount of utilities that are in these back alleys. Every time we discuss it at a meeting, and it gets in the newspaper, I get a call from AEP. AEP is 100% against closing any of these alleys due to accessibility issues. I've talked with the NIPSCO higher-ups in Fort Wayne. They have the same thought. You know, they have utilities running down through them, just like we do. They want them open for accessibility reasons. You have a pole down in the middle of the night, or you have a water leak, you have a sewer problem, you have a gas leak. It causes problems for them, just like us. I guess basically we're looking for a little direction is, you know, are we answering these right? Do we want to open them up? We have an issue out off of 13th Street that there's several old delivery truck beds sitting right on top of the water main. Sitting right on top of the sewer main. It's full of car parts, all miscellaneous things. Bill Carville and I are going to address that when he comes back from Colorado, because it's something that at 12 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be a pain for us if there's something going on underneath.
Yeah.
For public safety.
Do we open up the can of worms by making one person do it?
No,
and
you
not
do
making
won't.
everybody else do it?
That's the question. And I tell you, that now 15 years we've allowed them to be closed. People have used them for their private parking areas. I mean, the people that live next to them they think it's their driveway now, and so we have to tell them.
And there's more than that.
Yeah.
But we just don't even, not broad part.
Is it,
I had a lady last year, she lives on 5th Street by our church, and she wanted the alley shut down because people fly through there. And the answer was, no, we really want them open.
Well, I think she came here to request.
Nancy Brown, Christiana, yeah.
That one in particular, there's water main, sewer and gas, it all runs right down through.
are there, on these,
Power running right against the homes.
do we have a similar situation where the alleys are currently closed? Do you have utilities running through those?
About every one of them that are closed, there's utilities in them.
Can we not go to these residents and explain to them that it creates a public safety issue and that we have to keep it open so that we do have access to utilities?
In the 10 years that I've been here, we've only had one person that's fought it. Once we had a sewer issue. We had to dig the alley up. It was before I was in my position. I was just a worker. We left the barricades down. Within 48 hours, we were down to put it back up.
It's nothing we have to do tonight. I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Had a big problem with the people fighting us to get it back up.
Police and fire would rather they be open, would they not?
Police, fire, would you rather have them open? The alleys open or closed? Does it make any difference?
It depends on where they are. Some alleys would benefit us to be open, but others, we wouldn't use them anyways. Any avenue we can have, okay.
Yeah.
But for
The
us-
more access you have, the better off you are.
But for us, we're not. It's not.
That's the three alleys you guys have been around long enough. The one that's north of Napa, the one over by west of the Elks, and the one over here on 5th Street, or off to the west of 5th Street.
One at First and
There's
First and Road.
Over here on Third.
First and Rug.
Yeah,
Where's that
Guy
at?
Geiger's old house.
Well, I guess from a strictly legal perspective, private citizens do not have a right to obstruct a public way.
It's not their alley.
So, if there's not been some formal action taken by the Board of Works or a vacation of an alley through the Common Council, that's a public way, it's dedicated for public use, and private individuals who happen to live near that do not have the legal right to obstruct it.
You should have never allowed it.
So you have the right to remove it, but the problem is, it's been there for a long time. I think before you go doing that, somehow you ought to have a meeting with these folks and try to explain to them the reasons why, and maybe you need to have the utility companies here to explain why it's a concern to them. Greg and Les can weigh in on it, but...
The utilities have already offered letters or whatever of support because it's a real issue to them.
In all the years that they've been closed down, has the city done any maintenance to these alleys?
I refuse to do anything with them.
So what kind of condition are they in?
They're not
Yeah,
terrible because they
you
haven't
can
had a lot of
vacate
traffic
it,
on them.
but if it's never been vacated, it's still a public way.
First, it started out as a driveway.
Pardon?
None of them were vacated.
Then it
Yeah,
started out as
I'd
a
be surprised if they were.
Now there's a lot of campers, there's a lot of wood, there's a lot of other things that's starting to migrate that way.
Yeah, it's not their property,
We
it's an
found
alley.
some pools over towards that area, just temporary pools, nothing permanent.
I think we need to open them back up.
I
Before,
do too, but I'm like Tim, I think we have to get some notice out there and talk with those people that
Something we
live.
can announce is going to be discussed at the public, don't we have a public forum next Tuesday?
Yeah,
That's really designed for downtown, getting
The
input on downtown.
You don't want to muddy it up with...
we can probably just send them letters individually, try to get some feedback from them, and then see if we need to pursue one.
My guess is a lot of them probably took it upon themselves to do it because they perceived a safety issue. That you've got lodges that are right next to the alleys, they obstruct the view, or,
Jamie Thorne?
it's hard to get in and out if cars are coming up and down, so that may be the reason, but it doesn't give them the right to do it.
Dwight Pearson closed it.
Well, and
He lived there.
how it had started out from talking to the guys over here that many years ago, a lot of the work was done by city workers, instructed by the administration. But the issue that it comes across is the liability on our end. Somebody has an accident, somebody hits them, they're not properly marked. It's not properly barricaded off. If somebody,
Exactly. If it's our alley and we're permitted, then we're liable.
things doesn't,
Right.
a barricade doesn't break off like it's supposed to, because it's been altered over the years or whatever. It comes back to us because it was never properly vacated.
Right.
We got a good attorney.
Great.
Leave them open. They're closed now, they want to open up again. I think that's probably a good suggestion, Jeremy, is send a letter out.
To start that process.
Well, and maybe we need to
Notify them.
contact our insurance carrier and have them provide us with something to the effect that it does create a liability risk to the city.
From the insurance, from the utilities,
I can get a couple
From the
letters
police?
from the utilities also to support the fact that
Okay.
it is a problem.
I always said something to one of the landowners, Jamie Thorpe happens to live right next to the one, so he's aware that we're looking at it. All right.
And there's probably another reason why we bring this up is that is one of the things that Bill and I are going to be addressing here this spring, so.
And right now, you're just talking about the existing alley, but see, we're gonna have something come in front of the building board here probably the next meeting that they want to vacate an alley. So it's gonna have to come in front of council.
Right.
But it's an unimproved, it's never been...
Platted, it's just platted next to it.
Platted, unimproved.
But it's never been an alley.
Yeah.
So we're just dealing with those on a case-by-case basis.
And these people that live there, they can come in and request to vacate an alley if they so desire.
There's nothing there, but every
Right.
one of these have utilities
Yeah.
on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one we're talking about,
Yeah.
it's just nothing there. Correct.
Roger, do you know, you were around a few years now, why those were closed? just because
I
people
think
wanted
they
them?
just requested to Bill Patch to get them done, and I think
Bill just said, okay?
Yeah. I mean, the first one I recall getting done is the one on 4th west of the L.
That's what Dwight
Now,
Fish
they
said
might have
then.
come up and asked to the Board of Works on that one or something, I don't recall.
We'd have it in a minute, if it was
Yeah, I don't
actually
recall
requested.
this.
Well, we can ask
I
Dwight
know they didn't
that one.
vacate any of those, so they just locked them off.
First one, I
I
think,
remember
went
a couple
in
people.
Third Street.
Yeah.
What's that?
The one on Third Street, I think, was the very first one I ever went
We're right over here behind Napa.
in.
There's one off of-
Down by her.
By our house on Third.
Yeah, there is one there also.
Because I about tore it out when I put it in.
Well, they're not marked, so you're not
Right.
used to that area.
Right.
There's another one on 3rd Street on down.
By Phyllis's house.
No, there's another one on North 3rd, on North
Public
Main.
safety wants them open.
Some of those are
And there's
private
utilities.
alleys.
Well, I don't know, one says private drive, but I don't know
If
who
it's-
that sign it.
Yeah, if it's a private alley and it's owned by the property owners, that's entirely different.
One behind church, they put in originally because the GE workers were cut through there.
Right.
That's why we have all these one-way streets, is because of GE, and
Yeah.
they haven't been around for 20 years. Okay, thank you. That's really all I have. I don't have anything else.
Can I pass it out real quick?
Sure, go right ahead, we got some time, Cam.
So this is not an official, this is a working document that they're smoothing over, because this is going to be kind of the discussion when it goes to the capital campaign. But first of all, let me explain. This is kind of, it's a step-by-step, shows exactly what we're trying to accomplish. This is all the capital projects that have been identified to be completed over the next decade, call it. And they're phased, 1 through 3. So phase 1's obviously priorities, right? And then on the front of it, it's going to explain, total cost of phase 1 project, how much is cities, how much is coming through grant, how much is through private properties, meaning facade, that type of thing. And then the capital need is basically what we're trying to raise. And right now, it's 2.4 million, okay? And that's where you got that one, it's like 1.88, 1.9 million is what the city, out of its own coffers, will be putting towards phase 1 project. And here's what's really important, is that if we're successful, and then they'll break down by all the different projects. And on the back, you'll see that the pocket parks is actually included in the Second Streetscape, okay? So whatever cost was going to cover that, to finish that thing, was already included. But if we're successful in Stellar, okay, the capital need goes from 2.4 to $600,000. And so that means that so the 1.8 can go towards future projects. That's the power of Stellar.
Say that again.
So right now, under normal grant cycles, right, what we would need to accomplish these projects, normal grant cycles, we would get $1.4 million. Okay? We have to raise 2.4, we commit 1.8, and then we have to get 1.4 through grants. So we're raising 2.4 for these phase 1 capital projects. If we are successful in getting Stellar, that capital need of 2.4 for phase 1 projects goes down to $600,000. We just free up $1.8 million in personal contributions to use towards phase 2, 3, whatever project. But that's exactly where that 1.8
Instead of a
came
decade,
from.
we can do it in 6 years.
Yes, exactly. So when it comes to our consideration of what we have to be committed to fund, regardless of it, whether we're Stellar or not, we are looking at 1.8 over roughly the next 4
years.
4 years, which comes to roughly $500,000 a year. Now that does not take into consideration that, which it's really on par with what we committed to last year. So our commitment
It was $2 million last year, yeah.
Our commitment hasn't changed, it just shifted it out a year, which I guess just begs the question, I mean, we were prepared, we had the ability to put up, 350 that we didn't use in 2015. Are there things that we need to be doing, or we can do, or commit that now? I don't know. But, so anyway,
Okay, that's good. So So Cam, are you suggesting that we just leave Walnut alone and what we did last year in a resolution?
No, I don't know, I think we need to look at that resolution because if it says specifically for Stellar project, I think we need to do away
To
with
change that?
I think we need just to make a resolution for its capital project regardless and commit to it.
Okay.
What are the phase one capital projects?
Well, it's pretty much all Stellar, which is, well, what's in complementary. For the downtown wetlands project, that's a complementary, but what's going into our actual, well, right now, in theory, it's going into our application is going to be the Monroe Strait Bridge, downtown gateway, Monroe Street streetscapes, Second Street streetscapes, and then the Arts and Business Accelerator, which would be a part of the housing development. But that's kind of what we put forward in our letter of interest, and how that all shakes out in the actual applications due on the 30th of next month. But that's what we're looking at.
Okay. So what do you suggest we do?
I just wanted to make sure you
Yeah.
have that because, I don't know.
Commit to the 1.8 regardless.
Well, yeah, I'm...
We have committed to it last year. I think we're okay now. We just, maybe at the next meeting, we amend that.
Amend it for all projects and not just Stellar.
Yeah.
Well, I think
All
you need to, but I guess the issue is, last year, you dedicated $750,000, and then, starting in 2015, you committed another 300-some thousand. So, those figures don't necessarily match up with what you're talking about. So, do you want to rescind that resolution and adopt a new one that spells out that commencing in 2015, you're committing $500,000 or less for whatever it is, 480 a year for the next 4 years?
Yeah, as opposed to a lump sum up front, you're
Right.
saying, hey, starting now,
Right.
we got 500,000.
Right.
I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't have a resolution ready, so we can do that at the next
Because we
meeting.
tied this to Stellar, and if we didn't win, we couldn't use it.
Mhm.
And then we tied it up.
So tonight, really, could we even rescind the resolution from last year?
I haven't.
I would rather do it at the next meeting,
Okay.
John.
That's fine. That's good.
Probably what I'll do is look at that, and then I'm going to revise the language anyway to reflect that it's...
Are you comfortable with the fact that we had already committed ourselves to that before? Are you comfortable with the campaign?
Yeah, I am.
moving
I
forward
think it's
with
fine.
Stellar?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're not, yeah, it does.
Well, it's probably good, at least that, and council can kind of verbally consent to that, because if they kick it off next week, that way they're assured that council is supportive of
Right.
of it.
Right.
All right. Okay, that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Where's Bill?